Okay, I think it's working. Okay, cool. Thank you very much for joining me. This is Shapestone. Please, can you introduce yourself?
Okay, hi, Nosisa. This is Shapestone here. I'm a property practitioner with real estate services. Having been in the industry since 2017, so I think now it's 5 years now, to be precise, in the industry. But before that, I was working in a bank, so I've been a banker for 7 years prior to joining the property industry. So yeah, basically that's what it is for me. And another thing, it's where before I joined property at the bank, I was working at the mortgage department dealing with home loans. So now it was easy to switch from the bank to do property like full time. That's why now I am now a qualified estate agent. Now they are no longer estate agents; they're called property practitioners.
Okay, thank you very much for that. And thank you for making time to join me. I just wanted to meet so I can just ask you some questions that people usually ask when they want to buy a house or a home and what to look out for. And also having been at the bank, I think some of the credit ones as well would, credit questions that I have would also help as well. So the first one I wanted to ask is, how is the market in South Africa right now? Like, how's the property market in South Africa now?
All right. Thank you for that. The property market in South Africa, it's I can simply say it's a fluctuating market because there are factors that affect the market at any given point. So now, when we look at the current situation that we have in South Africa, and in terms of the economy itself, in terms of the disposable income of those who work, like the working class, or maybe we can even say broadly, maybe the effects of the COVID-19, it really affected the property industry to the extent that if you check the trends from 2019 going back, and then post 2020 up to date, you see there are a lot of trends. If we can present these trends like graphically, you can say that there are a lot of changes in terms of how people, or when people are selling their properties, or people who are buying their properties, or looking at who are buying or who are selling, and the reasons for buying and the reasons for selling. So, for example, currently we've witnessed a slight increase in people who are buying as compared to those who are selling.
Okay, right. So it's a buyer's market right now.
It's a buyer's market, but being a buyer's market as well doesn't necessarily mean that everyone is buying, or everyone can buy, or everyone can qualify to buy, because there are a lot of things that get into consideration. For example, if the Reserve Bank, when they increase or they decrease the repo rate by whatever percent that they increase with or decrease with, it has a direct effect on the property market in terms of those people who can qualify or those people who cannot qualify, and it affects their repayment amounts per month, considering that an increase in the repo rate, it does a direct effect on the increase in interest rates that are charged by banks. for those lenders. It has that effect. So now, if you look at the trends now, when we went to lockdown, or just after lockdown, or maybe when it was a bit eased, when people were starting to, for those ones who are frontline workers that started to go to work and everything. And people who started to buy properties by that time, they were now buying, if you could check, there was now a demand for like standalone houses. People moving away from sectional titles, like from complexes, because they were running away from the COVID infections and everything. So they would choose to say, if I can get a standalone house where I can stay with my family, we are all our family, we don't mix with other people. And then now people who were selling sectional title were affected, like buying for someone who is selling in a complex. They were being affected because people were now buying standalone houses for
Standalone
space.
houses.
Yes, they were now not looking at the security aspect, because most people, when they buy, they look at the security to say, if I'm buying to stay, I need to where it's secured, like in an estate, like in a complex where there's security. But now, because of COVID, now the scope has changed. People were now buying not because of to look for security, but they were buying to say, I need to where it's safe so that I don't mix with other people. Even those who were renting, they were starting to rent maybe ground floors, or maybe renting houses that are on their own to avoid COVID. So now this thing is it's a factor that is actually even affecting the property market in South Africa now, because if you look back, if you compare maybe 5 years ago, and then you compare in the current, issues to do with inflation, it's affecting as well.
Okay. So if it's like a buyer's market, does that mean that homes are cheaper now than they were pre-C19, or what?
Okay. A buyer's market doesn't necessarily mean that properties are cheap. And there's no any given point where properties go down, like in terms of price, because as we all are assets that appreciate value over time. You see.
Okay,
so when you say,
so if they appreciate
okay,
over time, does that mean that the buyer's market means that there's just more people looking to buy, and so then the person who wants to buy can then negotiate for like a cheaper price? Was that what that means?
Okay. A buyer's market, to answer to that directly, a buyer's market happens not because of one factor. There are a lot of contributing factors that lead to a state where we can then say, with the current course of events, we are having a buyer's market or a seller's market. So I want to answer you on that in terms of the pricing of properties. Even if properties are high at that particular point, there are factors that can allow the market to be the buyer's market, even if the prices are high. You get the sense? So let me explain to that. For example, the houses, or maybe in a certain area, the average pricing is maybe 1.5 million. People are buying, or people that are not really buying. Now, the Reserve Bank then maybe says, okay, we are easing the repo rate, meaning if they reduce the repo rate, the interest rate, they go down, right? So once the interest rates go down, it doesn't mean that the price for that property goes down, but it allows more buyers to qualify.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And even
Okay.
on the affordability part of it, where we say your repayment amount must not exceed 30% of your net income. So when the interest rates go down, it means your repayment component then goes down, and it doesn't affect salaries. So banks, they start to approve more people, not
Okay.
necessarily
All right.
that prices have gone down of those properties, but because
Okay.
simply that the interest rate, they've gone down, so there are more people who can qualify to buy. Then it
Okay.
becomes a buyer's market.
Oh, I
Then,
see. All right. All right.
yes, so it can be a buyer's market in the sense that inflation is gone up, or whatever, inflation or deflation, whatever the case may be. But when there's a supply, when the supply of properties that are on the market for sale, when we're looking at the demand and supply and demand part of it, of the property market. When we have more supply, like we've got more houses that are on the market, maybe people are selling, for example, people, they start selling, maybe, okay, like now we are heading towards elections, right? So
Yes.
some people, they try to sell because people, of those who are politically conscious, they might say, oh, let us dispose our properties because we don't know what happens after elections and everything. Then they can, the market itself responds to that, and now there are more sellers who sell their properties, but now there's a low demand for properties, right? So if there's a high supply of those properties and then there's low demand, because people who qualify to buy, they are very few,
Okay.
right?
Okay. Yeah.
So it's a buyer's market on its own because there's more supply. So people, the buyers can have the negotiation power with those who are selling because there's a high supply of properties for sale that are chasing a very slim demand for those properties, or a very few buyers who are looking to buy.
Okay. All right.
So the opposite of that, where maybe buyers are a lot, right? And then the supply for those properties is very few. Then it then becomes a seller's market because sellers, there's no bargaining on that. With sellers, they say my property is going for 1.5 million. If buyers are coming to buy, sellers, they don't go down. Even with the 10 rand, they won't go down because they have the power in that particular moment. They have the power to sell at any price that they want.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
And is this the same? Is this the same in all like provinces? Is this like this what we've been discussing now? It's the same principle that will happen in Gauteng as it will in the rest of South Africa.
Okay. I can say generally because we are in the South African economy, right? So, but then when we are looking now at the macro and the microeconomics now of the, so we can even look at the Gauteng province economy. It's different from let's say maybe the Limpopo province economy there, or maybe the KZN, or maybe the Western Cape. So maybe we can use criteria now to say what makes these disparities in even in the same economy, but what makes it different, that a property, because for example, a property that you get in Cape Town, whether for rent or for sale, if that property is in Gauteng, you might see that there's a difference there in prices there. because of different economies of those provinces. Right.
Okay. All right. That makes sense.
Yeah. So in the Western Cape, or maybe say in Cape Town, properties are highly prized. Or in some senses, we can say provinces that are in the coast, that those coastal provinces or coastal towns, their prices, they are a bit higher as compared to those provinces that are inland.
Okay.
Or those towns that are inland, for reasons that we all know, that people, when they come to South Africa, even tourists, even investors, even if they are buying properties, save for Gauteng, because Gauteng is the hub for all the business in South Africa. But when we want to see an investor buying a property, usually they don't go to they don't go to Limpopo usually. They don't go to Northwest. Especially we are talking of the residential property market, not on the commercial part of it. So when they buy, they look for here, in Johannesburg, they look for Pretoria, they go to Cape Town, they go to Durban, they go to East London there. So you see that those markets for those properties, they differ. If you do comparisons to say, in terms of one, the demand, in terms two, the pricing of those properties, they always differ. Even though we are all in South Africa, but it doesn't really become at par with all those provinces. There are variances there.
Okay. Oh, nice. So like now I'm a person. Is there a good time for me to buy? Like I have a job now. I think I can afford to buy a house. Is there a good time for me to buy? Like, is it during the beginning of the year, the end of the year? Does it like in my 20s, in my 30s? Like, when is, like, if a person wants to buy a house, when is there an optimal time for the person to buy a house, or it doesn't matter?
All right. I've been telling, I always tell some people that I talk to regarding this, usually this topic, where I say, in buying a property, there's nothing like a thing of saying, I'm waiting to buy the property. Because there's a statement that we usually use to say, don't wait to buy a property, but buy one and wait. You get the sense? Because property, it's an asset. It's a sentimental asset. If you're buying it, maybe for yourself, to say, this is my house that I'm buying. So whenever it's okay for you, the time that you qualify to buy, the bank approves you, regardless it's a buyer's market or it's a seller's market. You have to buy your own property, because when the buyer's market comes, what if by that time you are no longer qualifying? Because being a buyer's market doesn't mean that even if you've got a bad credit, you can qualify.
Okay.
You see?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you don't need to say, I'm waiting for the buyer's market. Maybe for those who are buying for investment, to say they are.
So if you're buying it for your own personal, your family, like the best time is anytime.
Anytime is the best time to buy a property. But if you're buying for business, if you're buying for investment, you have to be like those people who buy stocks. You see, those who go on the stock market, they know when stocks, how to buy them and then sell them at a profit and everything. So you wait when they go down, then you buy, then you sell them when the price go up. So these people who buy for investment, they buy because they say, I want to wait until now people are, when it becomes a buyer's market. And these markets, they don't, these periods of saying a buyer's market or a seller's market, it doesn't last long. Sometimes it lasts long, but sometimes it doesn't last long. But then to answer to you, to say, like now, is it a good time for a person to buy a house? Yes, I can say it is. And every time is the best time to buy a house. If you want to do something, do it now. There's no best way of doing it except now.
Okay.
You see.
Okay.
And
Yes.
yeah. So the right time to buy a house is, okay, fine. If you look at the trends now, world over, not only in South Africa. If you check, people who are between, let's say, between 18 to 35, in terms of the rate of approvals by banks, these people, they get more credit, right? Why? Because most of these people, they are coming from school, they are fresh, they are starting to work. And if you are looking at how banks do, they do like insurance. You see, when you are getting your life policy, the more you grow older, your policy becomes expensive because you are going to get old, or maybe eventually to die, or maybe as compared to someone who's 22, someone who is joining insurance to say, I want a cover, is joining at 52. You see that the premium, they are higher than the one who joins for the same package, maybe who is 23. You see.
Yeah.
So that's the same thing that happens.
So like if you said from 18 to 35, so if you're above 35, it's sort of like you have to buy quickly or something. Like you have to buy as soon as possible or what?
Not really. Not really. I just gave a range where,
or an example, okay.
Yeah, an example to say, but we cannot say, or maybe let's say between that 18 to 40 years, people are starting to build, they are starting to build their own lives, right? You are from school, you went to varsity, maybe you left varsity at 22 or whatever age. You are looking for a job. You get a job maybe 25, get a job. Mostly your credit will be clean by that time.
Yeah.
Because you haven't been in debt, you haven't seen a lot, you haven't experienced a lot. There are no divorces by that time that affect your, you see. So, but now you are about 40 now. Maybe your first marriage has failed. Now the credit that affected, because if you get married and then one person is blacklisted, you are automatically blacklisted. You see. So now going going to divorce, and then now you are 45, you are divorcing, and it affects you as well if you want to buy. If during the subsistence of your previous marriage, it issues to do with your credit issues, you become declined. But now common sense now tells us that if you are young, and then young professionals, they are easily approved by banks.
Okay, but then now so if life happened, fine, life has happened, and then your credits is somehow bad. I had like a credit. Let me actually go to it now. So your credit is actually bad. So now, okay, fine, you're 45, you're restarting your life. What is there, like, if your credit is bad, say even if you're young, but specifically maybe for the older people, your credit is bad, and then how long do you wait for it to be, how long does it take to clear that bad credit? Like, is it a year? Is it 6 months? What are they going to look for when I want to, like, say, now I'm ready to start my life, I'm ready to buy a house, I've made some mistake, I've made some errors, I'm getting my life and my credit back on track. How do you come back from that?
Okay. So what happens is, um, like you are trying to repent from whatever went through you,
Yeah.
and then you have a bad credit, right? You are owing. The only thing that you can do to correct your credit is to pay up your debts.
Okay.
There's no any other way that we can say you are going to do this and do this and do this. The only way that you can do to correct your credit is to update your arrears if you are owing. But then there are situations where you was on credit. There are components that are involved there. You you have been flighted on your status that you are owing, or maybe you have been paying late,
Mm-hmm.
right? Maybe your account that you were having, maybe loans that you were paying, you are failing to pay them, or maybe you lost your job and everything, or maybe your account for Shein or whatever clothing account or phone account that you're paying late. Then there's where you see an indication that a client there's a default on the client, and then there's a judgment as well on the we find some people they have 2 3 judgments on their credit, right? And then you've seen people who have gone through what they call the debt review, right? So when you're going to a debt review, actually, I think that the step that you have to take if you are owing, like you are now maybe you got a new job, but now for you to clear those arrears at once, you go to then they do a debt review on you, and then they give you time to sort out and then from that time you have to start paying uh religiously without jumping any month, without delaying payments. So you have to start paying. So you will see some credits they take to be clear, because once you pay up everything,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe because it's not a matter of paying maybe the principal amount of what you're owing, it's paying the arrears of your repayments that
When they're due.
yeah, when they are due. So cover those areas. Having a repayment that you are paying on time, even if the principal balance is high,
Mm-hmm.
as long as you are able to pay that. But now having
Okay.
arrears now it's always red. Then it becomes a problem as well. So now once you clear, let's say you've cleared whatever you are owing, whether you cleared the principal amount or maybe you've cleared the arrears, but still the loan is still ongoing. Wherever you are owing, right? There's a letter that they write to say you have cleared whatever, to say now you are in good standing now. But then when they submit, like to either it's TPN or Windit, when they submit to that, sometimes it might take because I think they've been monitoring to see maybe you've paid up your arrears, but how are you going to do after you've paid your arrears? Are you going to start again? Well, so you find maybe it takes maybe 2 to 3 months before
Mm.
it really clears on your score,
Okay.
or it really becomes in the positive of your credit score.
Okay. Okay.
So
And
on the question that you said there, sorry, you want to say something?
no, no, it's fine. I want to actually segue to what a good credit score is, but we can talk
Okay, so
about this as well.
then here you said you asked to say on this question that you answered, you said
Mm-hmm.
how does a bad credit score affect the application?
Uh-huh.
So no financial institution or not even any lender, or not even like okay, literally if you those people who go to the machonistas who lend money for this and this and this. If you have got a bad credit with them, they won't give you. It's simple as that.
Okay.
So now, because now that was an informal sector, but this one in the formal sector, it's not like you have bad credit with them. Even those who are in the informal sector, if they tell each other that so and so doesn't pay, don't give them money. They won't give you. It's simple as that. They won't give you.
Yeah.
You see, because they know that you are a burden to pay back. Because to be honest with you, there are people who borrow money with the intention of not paying it back. Right?
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Sure, but sometimes life happens. Like it just happens. I think like this credit part, like I think I'm gonna get you back to discuss this specifically because sometimes like just unfortunate things happen to people, and it's not like they're unwilling to pay or, So sometimes it's sort of like, especially credit, it's so huge, it's so important because it affects your ability to get credit in the future, and then that can just affect the quality of your life. And cleaning that up, it's quite a huge topic, but I think we probably, because you've also worked for the bank, we'll definitely do another session on that one specifically. But going now to like, still staying on credit, what is then like a good credit? Like I know there's that, Clear Score and like, like TransUnion, I think they give you like these numbers, So like what is like a good number? Like if at least I'm on like, I don't know, 500 or 400 or whatever, at least I can get approved for something. Is there like something like that?
I think from my experience, if you've got a credit that is above 600, 600 and above, because you are slightly above average, right? But now there's a what you call, there are those 6 C's of credit or 6 C's of lending, where we look at things like character and all that stuff. But you can do that on another session if we're going to have that.
Oh wow!
So,
yeah, that's it. We will. I think I'll definitely schedule it.
Yeah. So someone has a credit score of maybe 600 and something, but then you look at their paying behavior, right? Or maybe look at how this person conducts himself or herself. This person, you look at the history, like going back to say, how was this person paying, or how was this person honoring or respecting the debt? Because life happens, like you said, life happens, then no one knows what happens tomorrow. You see, then went through something, then it reduced your score, but still, if you are having issues like everyone who has issues, and then they look at it in some cases, and some credit departments for banks, before they grant you a loan or they send you, there's on the preliminary approval, maybe you applied from the branch, the whoever the credit manager, whoever is there, depending on the structure of the bank, they do an interview. If they see something there, they do an interview, then they know in person who is the person that we are granting the loan or we are giving this to. So with sometimes because of your character, sometimes it might, then they give discretion as well to grant a loan, and then they look at your books as well to say, and into your account to say, okay, fine, this, and then we look at your pay slips and your if the job like stable as well and all that, because there's a lot of things that is happening outside there. People, they actually, I hate that there's some people who can would you, what you call, let's say you are you want you have a bad credit. They come to you and then they take money from you and they say, we can correct your credit. That one, it's a scam. That one. So whoever has a bad credit, there's no shortcut for you to have a good credit score. So that one, everyone has to understand that. There's no shortcut. There's no one who can say I can get into the system, because at the end of the day, you, even if you cook those figures to say you have done you I don't know how did they do that, but at the end of the day, you know yourself that your credit is bad. So yeah, even if you cook and say, my credit is good and everything, but you know yourself that your credit is bad and you are a bad payer. So even if you cook them today to say you are a good payer, your character will follow you.
Sure.
You will default on that.
Yeah, that's yeah. The credit thing is it's huge. It's like really really big, and I think there's like they had to like get stricter and stricter when they come to approving
Yes.
people. So I understand, but then it's
Yeah.
unfortunately it's just the people that like it's just life happened. It's not like they don't want to not they still want to pay, still get caught up. So you said something interesting. You said that they look into your records. How far back do they go? Do they go back 3 months, 6 months? Because I'm just trying to see if someone has like a bad credit, like because I just want like to give like people hope. Really, is like to say if someone has a bad record, then it's like okay, you start paying. Then you maybe been paying for 6 months, you've been paying well for 12 months. So now I'm applying for a house. I don't really want someone to go back 2 years. I mean, that would be a little unfair, I think. So how far back do they go to check your history?
Okay. I think you do understand audit, right? Where it just happens like they just say we want a file for this. They don't give you like a sequence to say we are looking into this particular angle, right? They just say, okay, maybe you started banking with a bank maybe 6 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
What they do is these ones who are giving, whether it's a home loan or whatever, it's not a surprise that you might find them asking you to say, can we have your other bank statements or your previous bank statements from other banks? Because fairly your account is less than a year. Because people, they think that if they say we need a 3 months bank statement and a 3 months pay slip,
Mm-hmm.
but they want to know that before before those 3 months or before those 6 months, how were you banking? You see, because
Yeah. Okay.
we are happy to say, oh, for the past 6 months, my affordability is this. You see, so now what was it before? You see, now you are okay, but how was it before? Right? So, which
Yeah.
means,
Yeah.
like I said to you, to say your character of paying, it has to, well, at the end of the bank, at the end of the day, banks, they just then, after they say, okay, this thing, we are satisfied, those credit analysts, they say, okay, we are satisfied, we can grant this person the loan, right?
Mm-hmm.
But granting a loan to everyone, there are a lot of risks that are there in lending by those who are lending. So,
That's
and
true.
then they know that there's a percentage, or there's where we will talk of the default risks and everything, where people, they take loan, then they don't pay, because mortgages that are bonds that are given over a period of 20 years, it's a long period of time, and a lot can happen with those 20 years. But at the end of the day, they have to give to you if you meet their criteria, and then along the way, while you are having the house, you got a property, your credit can still go down as well. And there are high chances that it can go down as well, because the job that you're doing today, maybe you got a job today, you are just 23, so you finish paying the house when you are 43. Maybe by that time you've been retrenched maybe 3-4 times before you get to 43.
Yeah.
To the extent that the bank can even take back the property, they recover their money, and then at 43 you don't have the house. But at 24, 25, you were one of the best kids from your family who has a house at 25. But before you reach 40, where we say life begins at 40, you are now on bad credit and you don't have a house. The bank has taken the house.
So, okay, speaking about the bank taking the house, how, okay, say you lost the job, you're retrenched or whatever, can you go to the bank and say, this is my situation, and then they give you like 3 months off or some kind of arrangement so that they don't take your house? Can they do that?
You know, banks, they use annuities, right? So they run monthly. I can say they are compounded monthly, even when they calculate their interest and everything. Those interests, they are compounded monthly. So if they say over 20 years, that is 240 months, right? Over 20 years. So if you go to the bank and you say, I'm having problem, because at the end of the day, banks, they are not there to say, okay, if you fail to pay, you can come and we negotiate.
Okay.
You see, yeah. They can't say, if you fail to pay, come and let's negotiate.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Yeah, because this is business, and in business you have to pay.
That's
Remember,
true. Sure.
the bank has paid the seller who sold you that house, right? And the bank now, they are recovering what they paid already.
Okay.
That's why you find banks, they start to write you demand letters. They send you a lot of stuff. They are good in that, to send you that, reminding you about your arrears, your 60-day, 30-day arrears, 60-day, 90 days. Then they start writing you according to the law to say you must pay this until this time. If not, then they send those things to, because the credit now department will say this is beyond them. They put it to legal department, and then they start running their thing. Now they find you are unable to pay. That one, there's no two way. There are no two ways there to say you are unable to pay. Then the bank says, okay, it's fine. You pay when you get the money.
No, I guess it is business. So I just want to now talk about the costs. So what are the costs that someone incurs or someone has to put aside or know about when they buy a house? Like, what are the different, like, say I'm buying a house. So for me, I'm young. I like, oh, I found this flat that I like. The only thing I'm thinking of is, will the bank approve me? So what other things must a person also know that they have to have money for this, and this?
All right. Before I answer that, I think I have a preamble answer to that. Like, when buying a property, there are two things that you need to know. What are you buying the house for?
Okay.
Are you buying it for your own dwelling, for you to be there to say, this is my house that I'll be staying? Or are you buying for investment? right? So this will become interesting now to you before I go to that to answer completely on that. Do you know that the house that you buy and you stay, the house that you buy on bond and you stay in that house is not an asset, it's a liability.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
You can't buy a house on bond and stay in that house.
Okay.
The house that you can buy on bond.
Explain that to me a bit more.
Okay. You buy a house on bond, you stay in the house. You are paying the bond, right? How are you different with someone who is renting?
Because in 20 years' time, it's mine.
In 20 years' time, right?
Yes.
Yes. Even the one that you buy and put a tenant, in 20 years is 2 years. And in this case, you bought a house, the bond is 10,000. You put a tenant there who is paying the maybe 10,000 the rent and caters for the utilities there. Maybe if it's in a company, you are paying the levies, or maybe the rent covers with the levies as well, right? Then maybe you are staying 8 or 5,000 rented apartment, right? So my advice is, or my explanation is, you are staying in the house that you are renting, and you are paying the bond, and you are paying 10,000. But before you bought that house, you were renting a flat of 6,000. Now you bought the house, you are moving to that house that you are now paying the bond for 10,000, plus levies if it's in a complex, plus utilities, those rents and taxes, right? Now I buy my own house, I'll pay the bond for 10,000. I put a tenant who pays 12,000 there. I continue staying where I am here. I'm paying 6,000.
Okay.
Who is financially intelligent?
It's the person who has a tenant at the property.
Yes. Then your first house that you pay up, maybe you buy on cash, or maybe you get, maybe you won a lot, or then you clear the loan with the bank or whatever. Something happens to you, then you get money, a lump sum, then you clear that. Or maybe the first house that you pay up in full. The house that you pay up in full, that's the house that you must now stay in. Move to that house that you have paid in full. Before you pay that house in full, there's no point for you to go to stay to that house. Put a tenant there, or maybe whatever business that it covers for itself. Then once it pays itself up, then you stay in the house. Sure. Those other houses that you are buying, or the bank keeps on approving you because you're a good payer, you've got other properties that you took through them, they keep on approving you, your applications. Then you buy, you put. The one that you pay up, then stay in the house. You know that you are staying there for free. But if you are still paying bond to stay in that house, you are not staying for free. Because the day that you lose the job, the bank, before the end of the year, the bank will repossess that house, and you are kicked with your family there outside. So people will say, but it's your house, Mos. Yes, but I failed to pay. You see.
Oh, it's interesting. No, but I understand. All right, okay.
So when you are buying the house, the property, I wanted to say, you have to know, what are you buying the house for? The reason why I'm asking that is, you have to ask yourself that is because you are looking for a house. Are you buying it to stay, or you're buying it for investment? So those costs now that are involved in buying a house, they differ for the simple reason that, why are you buying it for? Are you buying it for yourself? Are you buying it for to maybe to put tenants there? So
okay.
The cost that Yeah.
Oh, sorry. So if okay, fine. I actually was going to ask this later, but we can talk about it now. Is if I'm young now, I'm in my 20s, I just got my first job. Is it better for me to buy now? Okay, we did say that earlier that buying now is better, but is it better to buy or rent? Because if we're saying now that um, like the house that you stay in that you pay bond is sort of like a liability, which, I guess that's part of it. Should I then just rent and then buy later on or something? Or yeah.
All right. Thanks for that. So the reason why I'm saying buy now while you are young, it's because it will be early. You own your house earlier, because if you buy your house at 20, at 40 you are now a landlord, or you are now a property owner. Mind you, when you buy a house, the ownership of that house is shared between you and the bank until it goes and comes to you as time goes on to pay up the loan. The ownership, the percentage of ownership continues to come to you slowly, slowly, slowly until it's fully your house. So you have to buy now, even though I'm still saying you are staying in a liability. My point was to say you are staying in your liability, not in your asset. You can still stay in your liability, there's no problem, but don't be too comfortable to say I have a house, because,
Okay.
or say I've got an asset, because that house you might fail to pay it. Even like what I'm saying, say if you are renting, or maybe you are staying at your parents' house or whatever, some arrangement that is there, or maybe it's a workplace thing. You have even if there are less cases, less percentages of you defaulting to pay the bond, right?
Okay.
Because maybe the tenant pays in a particular month, the tenant paid late, or maybe you had 1 month that the tenant was not in. That your income, your salary, that your bond, the debt order comes on this day, they take from your salary even before the tenant pays.
Okay.
But you don't worry much, because you know that you are going to get a tenant maybe next month. Then it starts paying for itself.
Covering itself, yeah.
But
Okay.
from the point where you are staying in that house, the day that your salary comes late, or you start having issues, or you are suspended or on unpaid thing, or you are dismissed, the debit order, they keep on coming.
Yeah.
There's no income.
Okay. Coming in, yeah. No, I understand. I think I understand what you're saying now. Thank you for that explanation. Okay, so it's a liability. Cool.
Yeah.
So then, what
So,
are the costs? Like, I'm a new buyer.
okay.
What are my costs?
So the cost on that, when you're buying a property, there's a cost that, let's say, okay, we are talking of buying through the bank, right? There are costs that are involved when you're buying through the bank, or when you're buying through on cash, right?
Okay.
Those there are costs that are different there. If you are buying on was the our traditional way of buying is always through the bank, right? So or maybe on isolated cases, people they buy on cash. So there are two things that you need to know that you're going to pay. They are what we call transfer fees, and then there are bond registration fees.
Okay.
So the transfer fees are paid to the transferring attorneys that are doing the transferring of that property, who are called conveyancers. So those guys who do conveyancing that for that property, you pay them as the buyer. But mind you, the conveyancers or the transferring attorneys, they are appointed by the seller right? The seller is the one who has the discretion to choose who does the transfer for that property, for his property, even though he is not the one who is paying for that.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know
Yeah.
that. Okay.
Unless if the seller says, maybe the agent that the seller is using, say, can you give me any of the people that you use?
Okay.
One of the
Okay.
conveyancer that you use, then we can say, oh, so and so, they are good, then can you use them? Right? And there are some buyers who come because remember there are costs there of the transfer fees. Some buyer they say, I have my own. I've seen buyers come and say, I've got my own lawyers, I've got my own attorneys who can do conveyancing. Yes, you can come with them, but you don't have the right to choose them.
Okay. Okay.
Unless
so that's the transfer fees.
Yeah, that's the transfer fees. Okay. So maybe you want to buy a house, you have got your lawyers that you know that they're maybe your relative that do conveyancing, or your friends or whatever. But you cannot convince the seller to say use mine, because you know that the cost for that you can negotiate with, because you know them. You can negotiate the price and then it can be a bit lower. But the seller can say, no, I have my own. You see, so you have to deal with what the seller wants on that, to say, I want these ones to do my transfers, because they do that to protect the interests of the seller, because they say the buyer does not lose anything.
Okay, that's fair. That's a fair statement.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Because, mind you, when you are buying a property, whether cash or through bond, the money does not go to the seller. It goes to the seller's lawyers, who are now what we call the transferring attorneys. So it has to be domiciled at the lawyer's side, who are appointed by the seller. So if you, the buyer, then chooses the lawyer, then the money comes to your own lawyers as well. Then how do you protect the seller?
Okay. All right. So that makes a lot of sense. It makes sense because you're protecting the interest of the seller.
Yes. Then the sellers, they give you the transferring attorneys. Now they send you an invoice with their breakdown, their own fees, the SARS fees that you have to pay to SARS and for stamp duty and everything. But they give you a breakdown to say, was the one that they pay to SARS and everything, it's not negotiable, it's flat, that those fees. The only thing that they can negotiate is their own fees that goes, the fees that go to them.
Okay.
To say this is our.
That's the transfer fees though.
Yeah, but all of them, they will be called transfer fees there, but there are components inside.
Or inside the transfer fees.
Yes, because remember, SARS need to be paid there.
So, but what? So, okay, let's just like break that down. So, there's the transfer fees, and that includes conveyor fees. Can you just like list them down?
Yes. Or maybe what we can do is, if you want to have another session, we can do another session where we look at that conveyancing, the part of all the fees, only to talk of those fees.
To talk about the fees,
so that when
I think that's a good idea.
Yes, when people negotiate, with the attorneys, they have to know that the only amount that they can negotiate is the lawyer's fees, because it's them who can say we are charging this much. But the other component, where they say transfer fees are too high, these lawyers are expensive. It's not that they are expensive, but it goes with the amount of the value of the property that they are dealing with. So when they are paying those fees that they are paying, those prices are always high. So the only thing that their portion, if you look, their portion won't be that much. You see. Okay. So the only thing
I think we'll definitely do another session It's just so it's the conveyor fees, transfer fees, and then also the SARS.
I can say at this moment, let's say all of them, let's just say transfer fees, all of them, right?
Okay.
Including the attorney's fees and then the SARS and all that. Let's say these are transfer fees. For now, let's stop there on transfer fees. When a buyer is trying to buy, they have to know that they are going to pay for transfer fees.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So I think we'll definitely do another session where we talk about the fees and then we go inside the fees.
Okay. Yes, and we break down to say what are the components of those transfer fees. Then still on that, so that we don't go back on that. If you are buying on a new development, let's say, for example, Bowen is doing a development offsite, the one that they are selling, and then you are the first buyer for that property, for those complexes that are flat or that townhouse, that complex. You are not paying transfer fees. There are no transfer fees that are paid on a new development. So that's why sometimes you see some people who have mastered this, they always look to buy on new developments because they know that they run away from the transfer fees, because the transfers are done on the parent deed of the whole thing. So the developer is the one who does that.
So you're transferring fees from one owner to another. So if it's a new developer, there are no transfer fees.
Yes.
If it's a new development, there are no transfer fees.
Yes. So the developer is the one who does the transferring. Remember, now we're dealing with the portions. So the developer is the one now who does the transferring of each unit of that complex.
Okay.
But now, after the first buyer has bought the place, then they decide to sell. Now, whoever is buying from them, from that buyer, from that seller, is going to pay now the transfer fee, because now you are buying from, it's no longer from the developer. You are now buying from a seller who is independent from the developer.
Okay, awesome. Okay, no, thank you very much. But so I'll set up another session. We'll discuss that. So right now, I just wanted to talk about.
Oh, sorry. I didn't answer on the issue to do with other costs, the bond cost, the bond registration costs.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, the bond registration costs. These are costs for registering a bond, right? But the bond, this only happens as well when you are buying through a lending institution, like through a bank. So the bank appoints its own bond registration attorney. It's the bank, in this case, it's the bank. So you as the buyer, what you are waiting for is to get invoices only. To say the attorneys for transfers, they want this much. The attorneys for bond rates, they want this much. So you must be prepared for those two, depending on how are you buying and why are you buying. Then the other cost that you might experience is when you are buying a house. Then there's this thing where they say vicissitudes, where you buy a house as it is, and then you bought a house, you want to buy it and then maybe renovate it, or maybe try to add value to the house. Then if you're buying that, obviously those costs are yours. It's not the seller who can pay for you. Or maybe you are buying a house or a flat that you want to put a tenant. Sometimes you just buy it as it is, or maybe it's clean, then you have to put a tenant. Or maybe you want to stay there. Obviously, there are some maintenance that you have to do. Maybe you want to change the color of the paint, or you want to do this. That is if you want to change that. But the costs that you are prepared to, that are a bit that are substantial, there are those two: bond costs and then the transfer costs.
All right. No, thanks.
Thank you for watching this video. I hope it was helpful for you. Please look out for part 2. And if you enjoyed this content and this video, please can you support me by subscribing to the channel, leaving a comment down below, and sharing it as well. Thank you, and I'll see you there.